Greetings. Thank you for joining us at journeywithus.ca. Today I want to ask a question which Jesus asked his disciples. We find this in the Gospels, and I want to read it from Luke's Gospel, chapter 9, verses 18 to 20. It says, "Now it happened as he was praying alone, the disciples were with him. And he asked them, 'Who do the crowd say I am? Who do the crowd say I am?' And they answered, 'John the Baptist, but others say Elijah, and others that one of the prophets of old has risen.' Then he said to them, 'But who do you say that I am?' And Peter answered, 'The Christ of God.' And Peter answered, 'The Christ of God. But who do you say that I am?'" The scene is in Caesarea Philippi. He has just fed 5,000 people, and that miracle has seemed to have had some impact on the disciples. And Jesus is seen as going away to pray, and then he comes to his disciples who were with him, and he starts off with a very impersonal question. Who do the multitude say that I am? It's a very easy question, and so the disciples in response say that, yes, some talk of you as John the Baptist, and some see you as Elijah, and some see you as a prophet who has come back from of old, who has come back to life. And this was not really a difficult question to answer for them. From every side, men and women were saying things about Jesus. There were a lot of rumors and opinions flying around. They were not only saying things about Jesus, but they were saying great things about Jesus. They talked of him as a great teacher. Some saw him as a prophet. Some saw him as Elijah. So it was not that they were just saying something about him, but they were saying great things about him. People were unanimous that Jesus was someone great. His place was among the heroes of his day. He was not ordinary. He was someone above, someone supernatural. Even today in our times, the same thing can be said of us. In the world today, Jesus, for some, he is seen as a man of action. Some see him as the paragon of all saints, the captain of all moral leaders. Some see him as a great moral teacher. Some see him as a virtuous person. Jesus as a personification of all that is virtuous and good. There is no one who sees him in a negative light in that sense. All are agreed that among the heroes and saints of all time, Jesus stands supreme. He stands head, over shoulder when it comes to all the other religious people and moral teachers. The world has no problem in acknowledging that. But when it comes to Jesus, he was and is not content with it. He is not content with it. Jesus is not content to be first among equals. Men and women may agree or disagree with the claims of Jesus, but he was very clear as to who he was. Jesus claimed to be something and someone unprecedented, unparalleled, unrivaled, and unique. He claimed himself to be God. He said, "I and the Father are one." He is Word incarnate, God who became flesh in the person of Jesus Christ. He calls himself as the I am. There is no disputing the fact that Jesus claimed himself to be God. There are several instances in the scriptures where people picks up stone to stone him. And when asked, why are you going to stone me? The response was, not for what you did, but what you make yourself out to be. You make yourself out to be someone equal to the Father. And they couldn't stand it because they understood what it meant. They understood it as Jesus claiming himself to be God. Jesus, in no uncertain terms, you may agree or disagree, wanted everyone to know who he was. He is God in human flesh. And that's why he could make certain claims and he could ask people of certain things. Matthew's Gospel, chapter 10 and verse 37, it says, "He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me." Basically, what he is saying is he wants your total and absolute devotion and loyalty. The force of these statements is that if you can't give me your absolute devotion, absolute loyalty, you need not follow me. You need not be my disciple. He says, all things have been handed over to me by my Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. You want to know God? You got to come through Jesus Christ. Because that's what he says in chapter 24 and verse 35 of Matthew's Gospel. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words shall not pass away. What he basically is saying is, what I say is true forever. And all what others have to say or have said is of no much consequences. His claims are absolute. He claims himself to be God. He claims himself to be the only way to God, the Father. And he claims that his words are forever and eternal. And whatever others may have to say or not say is of no much consequences when it comes to your eternal destiny. As I said, John 10 and verse 30 says, I and the Father are one. Basically, Jesus is saying, I am God. John 14 and verse 6 says, Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father but through me. It means there is no other way to God, nor is there any other way to be prepared for the future to come, as I mentioned. Your eternal destiny depends on how you respond to the claims of Christ. C.S. Lewis, in Mere Christianity, in responding to the notion that Jesus was a great moral teacher, had this to say: a man who was merely a man said the thoughts and said the sort of things that Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. He would either be a lunatic or a madman, on a level with a man who says he's a poached egg, or else he would be the devil of hell. You must make your choice. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else a madman or something worse. You can shut him up for a fool. You can spit at him and kill him as a demon. Or you can fall at his feet and call him Lord and God. But let us not come with any patronizing nonsense about his being a great human teacher. He has not left that open to us. He did not intend it to be. Jesus was very clear as to who he was and what is the response that he expects from us. For Peter, in response to the question, Who do you think that I am? For Peter, Jesus was the Christ, the Son of the living God. The question for us is, what will Jesus be to us? And for those who claim to be Christians, followers of Jesus, let me challenge you this day to dwell on what it means to call Jesus as Christ, the Son of the living God. As we saw, if we acknowledge and confess Jesus as Christ and Lord of our lives, then He demands our absolute loyalty, our absolute devotion, our single affection should be forever Him and Him alone. Our affections, our loyalties, and our devotions cannot be divided with any. It has to be for Him and for Him alone. For He is worthy. For this God, He became man and died and lives today for me, so that I could be His child. If that is not possible, Jesus tells me today, Jason, you're not worthy of me. I hope that we will be worthy because of the grace and mercy of God in being able to see Him as indeed the Christ of God, as indeed the Lord and Savior of His people, as the Savior of our lives, to whom all things that we have is His and His alone. May God bless us and help us to that end. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful day.